You got Netflix, Prime, the gym, a meal plan, a subscription box. But how many of those are you really using and how many do you really need? It's time to check your subscription and membership buckets before they break the bank. Welcome, welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Money Soapbox. Now, this series is all about stewardship. It's not about making money or hustling for money, it's about how to steward your finances. Because if we don't know how to steward what we have already in our hands, we won't know what to do when we come into more. And oftentimes, a lot of people don't realize this, but the reason why they have difficulty into coming into more is because they are not stewarding what they already have. God is not going to give you more than you can handle. So if you're not able to handle what you have right now in your hands, then you can't expect him to facilitate and help you obtain more. Now, we started this series back on January 20th, where we started tracking our daily expenses and then classifying them or categorizing them into different buckets so that we're able to target toxic spending habits. Now, last week, I did not put out a video. There was some stuff that came up, and so I decided rather than rushing through a video just to postpone it a week. And so I'm putting out last week's video today. So, continuing on with this series with the different toxic spending habits and the different buckets. This week, we're going to talk about what I call the sneaky Pete bucket. And it's sneaky because if you don't keep an eye on it, you won't notice how much money is just going out. And it's called the subscription and membership buckets. Now, these are recurring expenses that happen monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And so these would be the streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Disney, your memberships like gym memberships, class passes, different delivery services, Instacart, Prime. You got the different learning platforms, Masterclass, Skillshare. You got the Costco memberships, Sam's memberships, even book clubs. And you also have what I call like the niche subscriptions. So, like the different apps, newsletters, software tools, etc. You also have the subscription boxes that you either pay monthly, quarterly, or even yearly for them. And then you have the auto reorder products. So you purchase something and then you put it on automatic reorder. So vitamins, skincare, household goods, etc. So what makes these buckets sneaky? Well, because you set it and forget it. And a lot of times the amounts or the cost is small that you don't even notice them. And so they can be anywhere from $1.99, $5.99, $14.99, etc. And then before you know it, when you start to add up all these different subscriptions, you begin to realize, wait a minute, I'm spending over $100 or $200 a month, and you don't even realize it. Also, what makes these or this bucket sneaky and dangerous is because oftentimes we justify the cost to ourselves, and we say, well, it's only $1.99. Well, it's only $10. We start to justify and tell ourselves it's no big deal. But you're forgetting it's not just $1.99 and that's it. It's $1.99 here, $5 here, $4.99 there. And the sum of it all adds up very, very quickly. And before you know it, you're hoarding products and services that you'll never use. And so you just end up paying for the clutter. So, how do you audit for these expenses or for this bucket? There's a couple ways that you could do it. One of the ways is to print out your last 3 months of your bank or your credit card statements. Or you can do, this is my favorite way of doing it, is you set up an alert on all of your cards. Okay? So that you will receive a text message every time a charge comes through on one of your cards. Now, this is going to be easier than going through all of your last 3 months of bank or credit statements, or you can go through all of your expenses that you've been tracking since we started the series on January 20th. Either way, I would highly, highly recommend that you set up a text message alert on all your cards, bank cards, credit cards. Every time a charge goes through, it alerts you, it sends you a text message telling you the amount of charge and where it's from. Now, just the other day, I had a text message that came through letting me know that I had a $1.99 charge and where it was from. Now, I didn't even realize that I had set this up. And so when I looked further into it, what happened was I had two subscriptions. It was for the same thing. One was billing me monthly, and then I was also paying an annual subscription for the same service, and I had no idea. And the reason why I caught it was it came through as a text message alert. So that comes in very, very handy. It might be, I don't know, for some people, it might be a little annoying because you get messages, text messages alerting you, but it's well worth it because it's the quickest way to audit all of the charges that are coming through. Now, as you're being notified of the charges, you want to go ahead and write them down on your daily tracker. Then you want to ask yourself, is this something that you use on a weekly basis, monthly basis, or you haven't touched it in over 3 months? Okay. And the ones that you determine that you have not touched in 3 months or plus, then you want to go ahead and cancel those subscriptions and kick those to the curb. For the other subscriptions that you determine that you are using, then you want to go ahead and check and see if there's an option to save some money by purchasing it on the annual basis versus monthly plans. The other question is that you want to ask yourself, instead of paying for that subscription, is there a free alternative? Now, since we are talking about money in this series, I want to give you a mindset shift challenge because the majority of us, we've all been conditioned to be consumers instead of producers. And so I want to give you a challenge. As you look over and you audit your subscriptions, start to ask yourself, what can you create that people would pay you for instead of you paying for the subscription? What can you create? This is all part of stewardship. So start thinking in terms of a producer. Start shifting your mindset towards a producer instead of always being the consumer. And so this will serve as a springboard for creating your own income generating memberships or products. Now, you might be thinking, geez, do we really have to track every single penny? I mean, is it that serious? Is $1.99 gonna really break the bank? Or maybe you've seen someone with money get labeled as stingy just because they watch every dollar. But here's the truth is they're not stingy, they're smart. They're watching the small drips before they turn into a big mess. Okay? They got there because they were stewarding every penny, every dollar that came through their hands. So don't let subscriptions nickel and dime your financial healthy lifestyle that you're in the process of creating. Okay. You want to control the bucket, or it's going to leak your healthy financial lifestyle like a leaky gut. Start to look at these subscriptions and these memberships as return on your investment. What are you getting in return for your investment? And if you cannot pinpoint your return on your investment with these subscriptions and memberships, then it's time to cancel it and start to use that money towards investments. And if you don't know where to invest your money as of yet, then you can go ahead and open up a savings and interest bearing savings account, which we'll talk about later in the series. But you can Google that and you can put your money there instead of these subscriptions and memberships that you're not reaping any return for them at all. So that is it for this week's episode of the Money Soapbox. We got one more bucket, toxic spending bucket, to address before we move on to the next part of the Money Soapbox series. And you're probably wondering, why are we spending so much time addressing these toxic spending habits? It's because we are in the process of building a healthy financial lifestyle. And Like anything else, whether you are rebuilding your personal life in terms of relationships or your health, you got to get rid of anything that is toxic. And that includes spending. And it doesn't really get talked a lot. It doesn't get addressed. People don't really bring it up. They just bring up budgeting and investing and stuff like that. But if there's toxic spending habits that we have, we cannot drag that into a healthy financial lifestyle. Otherwise, we end up sabotaging what we're trying to achieve. Okay? So, comment below on any toxic spending habits that you're either in the process of kicking to the curb. I know the two of the biggest ones for me that I've had to deal with in the past was emotional spending, and I was a product hoarder, and I didn't realize that I was. So I will see you all next week with the next bucket, which I believe is we're going to address the emotional spending bucket. Okay. Thank you all for tuning in to the Money Soapbox.